This is Marketing Jam, a show featuring the brightest minds in marketing.
Brought to you by Canada Post. Head to canadapost.ca/insight podcast for ideas to add value to your marketing.
Welcome to another episode of Marketing Jam. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Canada Post, for making this show possible. This is a guest I am so excited about. I have been following him for many years. I know that many Canadians have been following him. He's come up to different conferences over the years. So Guy, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you. Canada is maybe my favorite country in the world. Well, it's Canada or Australia.
Okay, and how do you pick? How do you decide which country?
The quality of the donuts.
Okay, yes. That's a great judgment piece. It could also be like what musical sensations have come out of our countries. Like Australia, you got the Wiggles, so it's hard to compete with those guys.
Well, and Canada has Justin Bieber.
Yeah, so there you go. That's good.
I rest my case.
It's very comparable. So Guy, your history, it's very full of some pretty monumental experiences. For those that maybe haven't looked you up on Wikipedia or maybe haven't been following you for the years, maybe give some of the highlights of some of your kind of career journey, kind of your origin story, as some would say.
Well, I would not label it monumental. So I work for the Macintosh division. Even prior to that, I worked for a jewelry manufacturer, as a matter of fact. So I worked for a jewelry manufacturer.
Yeah.
From there, I went to Apple. I was Apple's software evangelist in the Macintosh division. I left, started some companies, returned to Apple as Apple's chief evangelist, left and started another company. And now I am chief evangelist of Canva, which is an online graphic design service out of Sydney, Australia. I am a Mercedes-Benz brand ambassador. And I'm a podcaster. I have a podcast called Remarkable People.
That's amazing. So tell me about your podcast for those that are interested in learning more.
So, guess what Remarkable People focuses on? Remarkable People. So this is an interview series. I've had guests such as Jane Goodall, Margaret Atwood, speaking of Canadians.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Andrew Yang, Roy Yamaguchi from Roy's Restaurants, Steven Pinker, I think he's also Canadian, Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I could just go on and on and on. And so my goal here is to record remarkable people talking about their remarkable lives, how they got there, what they did, the lessons of their lives. And if you listen to my podcast, it's basically the person speaking 95% of the time, and I'm 5%. So this is not one of those kind of podcasts where the podcaster is trying to position himself or herself as the talent and who the focus should be on. It's all about the other person on my podcast.
It's very cool, very cool. So much like if you like this interview style, you would like your show, where it's more about the other person and what they're up to and what they're doing.
As it should be.
Good. Very cool. So what's been your kind of journey in finding these people, and how have you discovered them, and how do you filter who the best folks to have on your show are?
It's a very interesting story. So I am 66 years old, so I've been at it since 1983.
Yeah.
So I have 37 years of exposure. And what I've discovered in life is I obviously know a lot of people, but it's almost more important of who knows of you than who knows you, right? So, I didn't know Jane Goodall in advance, but she knew of me, and people who connected me knew of me. And so I started off with Jane Goodall, and then I got Ariana Huffington and Margaret Atwood and Stephen Wolfram, who's a MacArthur Award winner. So let's just say that when you call up a potential guest or you send an email to potential guests and you say, well, I have a podcast called Remarkable People, you would be on the same show as Jane Goodall, Margaret Atwood, Andrew Yang, Steven Pinker, Stephen Wolfram, Woz. It tends to make it easy. And the more I go along, actually the easier it gets, because now they're thinking, oh, he must be for real. He got Jane Goodall and Margaret Atwood. It's not like, he's got your random joker off the street.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Let me, if you have a moment, I'll tell you a very funny story.
Yeah.
So now, every day it seems, I get a email from Joe Blow or Joe Blow's publicist.
Okay.
And it always starts off with, we're big fans of your podcast, Remarkable People. And I think I should be on your show. My name is Joe Blow.
Yeah.
I run Blow Industries. It's a consulting firm. We've already achieved mid 6-digit revenue.
Yeah.
I wrote a book called The Blow Way.
Yeah.
It's published by Blow Press. And so I think I should be, because I'm remarkable.
Yeah.
And so what I do is I send them back an email. I say, well, Joe, I'm just not familiar with your work.
Yeah.
Can you just tell me how you've dented the universe?
Yeah.
Like Margaret Atwood, Jane Goodall, Ariana Huffington, Steve Wozniak, Steve Wolfram, Steve Pinker, Roy Yamaguchi, Christy Yamaguchi. Just, I'm sorry. I don't know of you yet. So please fill me in how you're as remarkable as they are.
Yeah.
And they kind of disappear. So my basic algorithm is that anybody who asks to be on the show probably should not be on the show.
Wow. Okay, that's some good advice. There you go. That's great. So
maybe you can use that in your guest selection.
No, that's perfect. That's very helpful. Thank you. Thank you. So as
No, I didn't ask you to be on your show, right?
Correct. I have chased you. I've been following you. I've been a fanboy for many years. So this is a dream come true. For someone like yourself, you've seen the spectrum of time when it's come from your days at Macintosh and to what you're doing now with Canva, etc. You probably get asked this in different ways, but what has been the biggest shift when it comes to marketing? I know it's hard to kind of pinpoint just one, but as far as like shift, if you're to say, hey man, if you fast forwarded me to the future.
That's not hard at all. The biggest shift by far is social media. Social media just changed marketing, I think, completely, and to the better and to the worse. And that is a true revolution in marketing. Now, if this Facebook boycott by Coca-Cola and all that, if that really impacts Facebook and Facebook backs down, we're going to have a whole nother discussion.
Yeah.
But the social media has changed marketing forever.
Wow. And how would you describe the good and how would you describe the bad? And maybe there's an ugly too.
Yeah, the good is that you can earn your respect using social media in almost a fast, free, and ubiquitous way, right? So if you're really good at content generation, whether it's pictures or video or articles, I think that the cream rises to the top. That's the good news. So you don't need to run a Super Bowl commercial. Now, the bad news is, because of the trolls and because of the fake news and because of the anti-vaxxers and all this kind of stuff, it also tends to become an echo chamber and it becomes kind of a cesspool. So that's the good and the bad. But there's no sense theoretically discussing whether it's good or bad, because it is what it is, and we just have to deal with it and make it work for us. Now, I happen to think that the service that Facebook provides, i.e. very narrow and specific targeting, is extremely useful for a marketer. Having said that, there's some things that Facebook provides to other marketers that I would not think is optimal, let's just say. So, you can't have everything.
Yeah. So for someone like yourself using Canva and wherever I go, I'm doing these workshops, webinars, we always promote Canva and say how great it is and accessible it is. And true story, we hired a graphic designer here at our firm. And when he discovered Canva, he was distraught. He said, I went to school for 4 years. We hired him because he was the best grad out of graphic design school program here in Canada. And he said, man, it does everything that I was trained for 4 years to do. but can do it in minutes, what takes me hours.
Yeah.
Whether it's infographics or newsletters. So was that Canva's aim? Like, this is just an anecdotal story, but like, what's Canva's kind of main purpose for those that haven't discovered it yet?
So did you have to let him go because he was not?
No, but what happened was, so for example, he was expecting that, oh man, I'm going to make like a few infographics a week. I'll do some designs a week. But then he's like, would normally I'd maybe be able to do 10 designs a week. I can now do 100 thanks to Canva. So he says it just supercharged his abilities.
Well, now I've been with Canva for 6 years, and it was never our intent to put designers out of business.
Yeah.
Right. So what we wanted to do was democratize design and empower everyone to be able to create designs. So now, one of the possible outcomes of that is what you described, that designers have been trained for years to do this, and along comes Canva. But I mean, is that any different than if you were an IT guy or gal and you've been trained for years how to set up IT systems and all that, and help people use their computers, and all of a sudden there's Macintosh, and Macintosh is WYSIWYG, point and click. So now people can do what you had to teach them how to do. Is that good or bad? I mean, I would make the point that it's good that more people can use computers, more people can design. I also think that there's some elements of design, like logo design, for example, the look and feel. You don't just go to Canva and do that, right? So there's still this truly artistic endeavor. Now, you can create your own logo with Canva, but the design center of Canva is that there are hundreds of design types, where a design type is an Instagram photo, Pinterest, flyer, business card, book cover, CD cover. There's hundreds of those kinds of things, and within each of those we have hundreds of designs. So if you want to make an infographic, if you go to the infographic design type, we have hundreds of infographics for you to start with. But even that, I think we empower more people to become designers, and we empower designers to become better designers. So that horse is out of the barn, and I'd be interesting to see, what does your designer think of it now?
Well, he said it just amplified his job. So it allowed him to multiply the efforts. And even with his design eye on Canva mixed with it, he said it's a powerful combination. And I see it. Because, he said, man, I can work off this base, and then he can adjust the look and feel. So he's loved it. Also,
working internally, maybe it's not so true, but working with clients, the ability to collaborate with Canva, because it's cloud-based, is so much better than, I'm going to share a Dropbox folder with you, or I'm going to send you a PDF, and what do you think of the PDF? I mean, just going back and forth. And I think the other thing that it does for a brand is you can enforce certain standardization, right? So if you run a Canadian real estate firm, and you have hundreds of offices who have hundreds of listings, and each listing needs a web page, and it needs a flyer, and it needs the thing in the box that you pick up if you want to go into learn more about the house. Well, if you're the central marketing function of that real estate firm, you don't want every agent all over Canada saying, I like Comic Sans, and I like Helvetica, and I like Times. Well, you want to say, okay, so our firm's standard font is this, and our color palette is this, and this is the flyer template that you are to use for your new listing. That, I got to believe, makes the life of graphic designers working centrally a lot easier.
Yeah, and so in Canva, one cool thing you guys did during COVID, you offered the premium version for free to help out some small businesses, to help out businesses that were struggling, which I thought was really cool.
Yes, and we also have a very active Canva for Good program, which is for not-for-profits. So we like to help not-for-profits. There's a deep and meaningful soul to Canva.
And so when Canva is doing what they're doing, are they happy where they are now, or is there some new pieces that are coming down the pipe that we should be looking for, or that you're allowed to let us know?
You know, in a perfect world, every graphic created in the world would be built on Canva. Okay, you know what I'm saying? We have modest goals. But no, things are going extremely well. We have about 30 million monthly active users.
Wow.
We get we get millions of designs every day.
Yeah.
We literally create multiple millions of designs every day for people. So it's, now I call it Guy's Golden Touch. So Guy's Golden Touch is not that I touched Canva and turned it to gold. Guy's Golden Touch is I touch whatever is gold. Because I have to tell you, the key to marketing is it's very easy to market great stuff. It's hard to market crap. And once you figure that out, all of marketing is easy.
Wow. So when you saw Canva, was it introduced to you, or were you using it, or how did that come along?
I and the person who helps me with social media was using it.
Yep.
They saw a tweet of mine using Canva, and they reached out to me. And, you know, next thing you know, I'm working for them. So, it's not like my resume was floating around the graphic design world and Canva found it on, you know, what's it called? What's that? Well,
Indeed.
Indeed, or Monster Jobs, or, you know, LinkedIn. No, they found me because of a tweet.
That's very cool. And do you get it? I imagine you get to go to Australia, see what they're up to, and kind of see.
I used to until the pandemic. Yes.
Yeah. So, are you seeing other kind of things coming out of Australia like that? Other kind of software and kind of social media solutions?
Well, I mean, you know, there's sort of two big companies in Australia. There's Atlassian and there's Canva, but there are other things happening. And I think one of the outcomes of the pandemic is that it truly will flatten the world, where people used to think that all the action had to happen within a 50-mile radius of Silicon Valley. But now, when everybody's on a Zoom call or Skype, you know, I literally don't. You could be in Toronto, you could be in Halifax, you could be in Montreal, you could be in Vancouver, you could be in New York City. I have no idea. So now, if you're thinking of startups and, you know, what's the hot company and all that, one of the proxies was, not that I believe that this is accurate, but one of the proxies was, oh, this is a Silicon Valley company. You know, that there was a slight uptick, right? There was a slight. It's like saying. He's a producer from Hollywood. That's a lot better than being a producer from, I don't know, you know,
Wichita
or God, what's the place in the middle of, you know, Edmonton or
Edmonton, Winnipeg. Winnipeg's another great city.
Winnipeg, yeah. Not to insult any of those three cities. So now, literally, who knows where you are, and arguably, who cares?
Yeah, that's a very good point. And I love listening to music out of Australia. There's a great band, Hillsongs, that I love, and you know, it doesn't matter where they are. You can listen to them anywhere.
Yep.
Just like software. So tell me about this stuff that's happening with Reddit. Do you follow Reddit? Do you go on there? Is that something that you, as a marketer, as a leader, look at and get involved with? No.
Nope.
Okay. You stay off of it.
I never go to Reddit. You know, I just don't need the aggravation.
Yes.
I do like to do Ask Me Anythings.
Yes. Okay.
But when I do an Ask Me Anything, obviously I'm on Reddit or whatever platform, but I never frequent it. My major social media effort is LinkedIn.
Okay.
Because I think LinkedIn, it's much more likely that the person is who he or she says he or she is than any other one. And you know, because I don't like to waste time arguing with Russian bots.
Yes. Okay, there you go. That's a great. So when you're on social, when you're on LinkedIn, what's kind of your purpose, or what are you doing right now? What's your advice to those that are in marketing?
So this is in the category of do what I say, not do what I do.
Okay.
So as I said before, I'm 66. I'm at the end of my careers. Okay. You know, I started my career at Apple. I'm ending it with Canva.
Yeah.
And so I'm never going to apply for another job. I don't care if anybody hires me. You know, I don't have any of those constraints, right? So basically, I just don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And at this point, I think that the existential threat to the United States and maybe even the world is the Trump administration. And so if you look at my social media flows, they're kind of dedicated to politics.
Okay.
And I can't say that I recommend this to any brand or anybody else, but I'll tell you a story. So in 2016, I was in Germany. I was having dinner with some friends, and they said, Guy, to this day, we wonder and we ask our grandparents, like, how did Hitler come to power? Like, why did German people let Hitler come to power? And then they said to me, and Guy, it is 1930 for you in the United States. So, do you want your grandchildren wondering if you resisted Trump? And that's the day I decided to go all in and resist.
Nice. Okay. Wow. And so that's kind of where you're going. You're spending your time, energy.
Yes.
Some infographics, using Canva maybe?
An infographic about Donald Trump, oh, my head is exploding. I mean, no.
Okay. So speaking of politics and kind of going there, one of the big questions and kind of pieces right now in marketing is diversity in marketing.
Yes.
Whether it's stock photos or whether it's people on the board, people in leadership. What are your thoughts? What are your how would you speak to that and how marketers can think more about diversity and involvement?
First of all, I don't think that anyone who has not walked a mile or 10 miles or 100 miles in other people's shoes can really understand, what it is to be Black in America. For example, when my kids go out in the morning, I don't have any fear that they're going to be pulled over, pulled out of their car, handcuffed, and shot. Okay, not at all. And so it's very difficult. I think right now the attitude should be one of learning as opposed to recommending. So I don't know the answer to these questions. And I think that we are at a tipping point. And I hope this Black Lives Matter activity continues. And, paint the street in front of Trump Tower Black Lives Matter, man. I'll pay for the paint. So I think we're at a tipping point, and we're either going to go one way or the other. We're going to look back and say, wow, either what were we thinking, or thank God we did what we did.
Wow. And are you seeing some brands or some marketers kind of taking a stand or kind of pushing the envelope, or
for some brands to just say we're not going to advertise on Facebook because of the hate and falsities that you propagate, that's a pretty powerful stand right there. But if you look at the extreme ones, Ben and Jerry's and Patagonia, I mean, they take stands, right? And when Dick's Sporting Goods stops selling guns or rifles, that is a stand. And I think that's to be commended. Now, I have been on both sides of this equation, and for the marketers who are listening to this, my experience is that, I have friends at an apparel company, and this CEO says something very derogatory about people who watch Fox. I mean, very derogatory, okay? And so it became this whole thing about there's going to be a boycott. There's going to be, I'll never buy your garment again. I was thinking of buying your garment, and I'll never touch you. And I'm going to tell all my friends not to buy you and all that. And so this company was just basically, shedding or bricks, which is the proper way to say that. So anyway, but then, and I said, so what happened? Did your sales plummet? And he said, no, it didn't matter at all. So basically, all these people who threaten, I'll never buy your shirt, I'll never buy your pants, I'll never buy your whatever because this blah, 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 they probably weren't going to buy it anyway. And now, this is not to be confused with Facebook situation, because if Patagonia or Coca-Cola says we're not advertising on Facebook, that's not a random threat. That's not like saying, if Joe Blow or Jane Blow says I'll never buy an ad on Facebook again, and that person doesn't have a small business that's buying ads, it kind of doesn't matter. But if the CMO of Coca-Cola says, I'm not buying ads on Facebook again, that's something to pay attention to.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's been a bit of a wake-up call, I imagine, for Facebook. And I think they're scrambling to try to find fixes, and hopefully maybe by the end of the month they'll have declared something or made a switch, but we'll see, I guess.
We will see. That's why Mark Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sanders makes the big bucks. I mean, this is a very hairy issue.
Yeah. Just to switch topics here, you've worked brand side for a long time. I imagine you've spent your time working with various agencies. For those that are agency side listening to the show, what's your biggest advice to have a successful brand agency relationship? What's maybe some of the best experiences you've had with agencies?
Oh man, I don't work with agencies very much, and I honestly, I'm not one of those influencers. Well, first, I'm not that influential, but I'm also not that influential, and it's not like I have people, right? So my people deal with the agency's people. Yeah. In the rare instance where I work with an agency, it's me working with the agency, and even that, I prefer working with the client. But that's another rat hole we go down. So I really can't address that. In a rare moment of humility, let me tell you, I don't really have much value to add to this part of the discussion.
Well, what are some brands that maybe you're following right now with some great leaders, or some brands that are doing some cool stuff that we should be following? You're like, man, watch out for this brand, or watch what this guy's doing.
Okay, so I know you may find this amazing, but I think that the company Anker, Anker, that makes the power supplies and the cables and all that kind of stuff, I'm just blown away by the quality of Anker and the price point and all that. And this is a Chinese company. You associate that with cheap, flimsy, crappy kind of stuff. But I just everything I bought from Anker, I love. So
that's great to know.
I bet not many people that look up to Anker like I do.
Okay. Any other brands that you're following, or kind of marketing leaders?
I'm close friends with my buddies at Sony, and you're watching this on a Sony camera, and hopefully are the books and things behind myself a little fuzzy and out of focus?
They're fuzzy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I have going on here is I'm using a DSLR with a 50mm prime. So I'm not using, my computer's over there. I'm not using the FaceTime camera. I'm not using a Logitech camera. I have a DSLR set up here. And so although we're on Skype, so Skype can, with software, defocus the background. Yes. But I'm a purist, and so I've spent hours trying to make these books out of focus.
That is awesome. So, and tell me, what is the tool that you've got between the DSLR and your computer? What are you using to kind of connect the two?
Well, it goes Sony to an Elgato SD60 converter that takes the Sony HDMI and converts it to USB.
Well, riddle me this. You've spent all this time with some incredible thought leaders. What made someone stand out as a business leader, or as maybe the creator of Canva, or when you worked at Apple during the days? What was special about that person that you...
Well, at the far extreme, I worked for Steve Jobs. And he's kind of 10 standard deviations beyond everybody, right? Very difficult to work for, true visionary, true reality distortion field, hard as nails, but the best experience ever. I would not be where I am were it not for Steve Jobs. So that was just an amazing experience. And
did Ashton Kutcher do him justice, or is that a true...
Okay, so this is another good story. So I have not read the books nor seen the movies.
Okay.
And the reason is because I was there, so I don't, there's a little bit of PTSD. Not clear that I don't know how many Vietnam War veterans go and watch all the Vietnam War movies, and so I'm not saying that it's that traumatic, but and so I know that if I watch the movies and I see things that I think are inaccurate, then I'll just be all aggravated, right? Yeah. So there's not a lot of upside, and my name appeared twice in the movie, the latest Steve Jobs movie, and I literally didn't know. I mean, people had to tell me. And so finally, I have the two little clips where the Joanna Hoffman character, which is played by Kate Winslet, utters my name. So
do you get the full name? Do you get the full name?
Yeah. I mean, twice.
Did they bring in a Hawaiian? Did you have a stunt double?
No. They just mentioned my name. Did it? Not like they used Jackie Chan to be my double. So you know, my claim to fame is that Kate Winslet uttered my name twice, and I have an Old Spice. Do you remember when the Old Spice guy was doing all the funny Old Spice things? Well, I was one of them. So can it get any better than that?
What you were one of the name, like how did he say your name in the
he says like, so Guy Kawasaki, you know, blah 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 blah, and they were going and they were making these 30-second clips, just doing funny clips about personalities, and somehow awesome. I made the cut. So that's the day I truly had arrived, when I was
made it.
Old Spice guy.
Wow. How are you even here right now?
Funny story. So, what country was I in? It was, I think, Dubai, and there's the Old Spice guy. His name is Mustafa. He has the world's greatest name, Mustafa Mohammed, or I mean something like that. He played in the NFL, and he's sitting there, and I say, "You the Old Spice guy?" And I'm like, and so we clear customs, we say hello, and the next time I leave 2 days later, because I only stay in any place 2 days, and he's in the airport in the VIP lounge. I get to spend more time with him. We became friends, and he sent me a bunch of Old Spice stuff. I can go get my Old Spice shirt if you want. Yeah,
that is awesome. So when you talk about Steve Jobs and then meeting the creator of Canva, like, do you see similarities? Do you see differences, or what's it been like working with these visionary leaders?
It's an honor and a privilege to work for Steve Jobs and for Melanie Perkins. I mean, Melanie Perkins, she's probably 30. She's between 30 and 35, someplace in there. So she's about half my age. Yeah. And she just had a vision that using Photoshop and Illustrator was too hard. Mm-hmm. And as we say in Silicon Valley or at Apple, there must be a better way. And so she started off making yearbooks for schools, and she made it so easy to make yearbooks that people ask her, well, can I use your technology to make flyers and business cards, and et cetera, et cetera. And that was the genesis of Canva. And now we have about 1,000 people. And as I said, we make millions of images every day.
And for those that haven't been on yet, it's totally free. It's a freemium system. So you can go on for free and get, how much would you say percentage of the software versus the paid version?
Well, the paid version, it kicks in with a greater selection of free stock photos. Yeah. And it kicks in with the ability to do this, brand control, right? We fix the font, we fix the templates, we fix the color palette. So there's the collaboration kicks in. But as a free user, you pretty much, I mean, honestly, most people might never pay. If you're uploading your own photos and you're using most of the templates, but there's always that just enough. And for example, when you go to the enterprise version and you start paying $20 or $30 a month, then you have unlimited use of, tens of millions of stock photos. And so, I'm used to paying $30 a stock photo, so I can either pay $30 for one photo, or I can join Canva Enterprise. I mean, duh. Yeah.
And are most people using it? Are they mobile users or desktop users? What's kind of the breakdown typically for a Canva user?
Well, we just introduced the Mac desktop version, so it's 99.9% probably mobile.
Okay. Very cool. And for you,
what's next? I take that back. That's not accurate, because we introduced a desktop app.
Okay.
But that's different than using a browser on your desktop to do Canva. Yeah. I think that most Canva graphics, well, they could tell me, but I think most Canva graphics are built on a desktop using the cloud-based version. The Mac app just shipped, to be totally accurate.
Okay, very cool. And for you, what's next for you, kind of in this adventure of life? Like you ride your Mercedes. You're riding your Mercedes, I assume. You still like your Mercedes? Yes.
And I'm living in Santa Cruz. The reason why this appointment started at 10 is because I was surfing till 9:30, and I'm just gonna ride Canva and hopefully a Mercedes Benz and my podcast into the sunset.
Guy, this is amazing. Thank you so much for being on the show. It's been a privilege and an honor. I need to go watch that Steve Jobs, video. What do you even call them? Documentary, but it's
No, it's
biopic.
Kate Winslet and I don't even know the.
Okay, I'm gonna go listen. We might even be able to cut these into this show here.
I think that would fall under the fair use.
Okay.
Because it's only about 2 20-second intervals.
Okay.
And be sure to go. If you're an entrepreneur, go to remarkablepeople.com. That's the website for the podcast. If you're a marketer, you have to listen to Bob Cialdini, who's the godfather of influence, David Ocker, who's the godfather of branding, and Justine, and Gary Vaynerchuk, because those 4 people are on my podcast.
Wow.
If you're an entrepreneur, I would add to that list Steve Wozniak, because Steve Wozniak explains the start of Apple, and let's just say that it's not what you probably think it is. So those 5 episodes would certainly be required listening on my podcast for any entrepreneur or marketeer.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. This is really great. Make sure you check out Remarkable People.
What city are you in?
We are in just outside Vancouver, called Fort Langley.
Oh, yeah. I went to the Winter Olympics in Vancouver.
Oh yeah, that was right in our backyard here.
Yeah.
That's amazing. What did you think?
I love Vancouver. Too bad it does not have better surfing, but I love Vancouver.
If you go to Vancouver Island, you can go up island a bit. It's called Tofino.
Yeah.
And it's famous for its winter surfing.
Yeah, winter surfing is kind of a contradiction of terms.
Yes, yeah. It's a very exciting. I went to UVic. It's a very Canadian thing. You get a full suit. You got a little window, but it's like, oh man, if any leaks come through your wetsuit, and it is freezing.
Well, my hat's off to Canada. I love donuts. One of my closest friends is Amber McCarthy, in Toronto. So she's a real buddy of mine, and I had friends at the Calgary Flames, and before I took up surfing, I loved hockey. I used to play hockey 2 or 3 times a week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and maple syrup and just all the good stuff is from Canada. And I'm one of those people who remember what the Canadian embassy did for America during the Iran hostage situation. So Canada rocks, man. Canada rocks. And you know what? I just want to communicate that I think that America and Donald Trump has done Canada a great favor in the sense that if you sat down and you said, how can we encourage the best and the brightest to come to Canada to live and to start a tech company?
Yeah.
What can we do? And you would come on the list and say, well, we're losing out to America. We're losing out to Silicon Valley. Yeah. So, God, if I could have this magic wish, America would stop issuing work visas, and they would, stop supporting entrepreneurship, and they would try to keep all the jobs for Americans. And so people would say, well, where else can we go with a law system based on English common law, and where do they speak English? Well, plus French, but they speak English.
Yeah.
And where is it located in North America? And where do they have good universities that we can, draw from out of Toronto? Because now, BlackBerry isn't there. And we answered your prayers.
There you go.
Canadians should love Americans for what we're doing for you right now.
And Vancouver is home to Hootsuite. and
Hootsuite? I use
Unbounce.
Hootsuite every day, 20 times a day. Yeah.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, they're. I used to years ago used to dress up as the owl for Ryan and was his owl mascot way back in the day. So that's like and this was the original owl costume where it was like super sweaty and didn't include any fans. And Canada's the home birthplace of Shopify and Flickr and Slack. All got birthed here in this great country.
And you know that island? What's that island? You kind of go across a little bridge and it's in the middle of Vancouver and it's got like.
Oh, Granville Island.
Oh, I love that island. Yeah.
Yes. No, they have the best bagels in town and a fun little park there for the kids. I take my kids there quite often. It's quite nice. Yeah. Awesome.
Alrighty.
Guy, it's a privilege and an honor to have you on the show. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this week on Marketing Jam, and we'll see you next week.
Take care.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.